So fog actually stands for feeling in fear around money, overwhelmed with money, and in guilt around money. And what I think is really interesting is, men and women both suffer equally from the money fog.
Financial independence.
Freedom.
Financial picture.
Independent financially.
Financial future.
Financial freedom and wealth.
Financial independence.
Get your fill. Financial independence and long life. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Get Your Fill, Financial Independence and Long Life, where we explore ways to achieve those two goals and really fun, cool, amazing tango dancing people come on to help us. That's why I'm very excited that Mikelann Valterra is with us today. For 25 years, Mikelann Valterra, MAAFC, has been a thought leader in financial psychology. She's written, spoken, and been interviewed extensively on powerful, practical ways to reduce money anxiety, teaches effective methods for earning, saving, reducing debt, and managing money. Mikelann Valterra is an author, speaker, and master money coach who helps women around the world rise above the money fog, transform their relationship with money, and design their ideal life. Cool. That sounds great. Welcome.
Hello. Good morning from Seattle.
So, Mikelann, there's so many, just in your intro, there's so many cool things that we could just sort of pull up and talk about. But can you sort of explain, and I know you talk a lot with women. So what is it about women? What is it about women and money that causes us to not just be really straightforwardly creating and amassing lots of passive income streams right out of the gate?
Wow, you just cut right to it, Christine. I love it. What is the key?
Feel free to back
this
up
entire
and start.
subject? Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Well, so I'll say this. When I wrote that last book, Rise Above the Money Fog, one of the questions I get is, well, do men and women both suffer from money fog? Is it more women than men? Where does the money fog come from? And which plays into what you're bringing up. And it's, I'll start with saying, when people are in a money fog, it means that they're hazy and unclear and vague about their money, which you and I know that's a pretty general definition, but it works. It's really about the feelings we have as a result of being unclear. We feel vague, right? So fog actually stands for feeling in fear around money, overwhelmed with money, and in guilt around money. And what I think is really interesting is, men and women both suffer equally from the money fog. It looks different in the sexes, but they both equally suffer from money fog. The difference with women is that women suffer greater financial anxiety than men do. We feel it more. We stress more. And you could say, well, that's because we're more emotional creatures. There's a lot of research into, goes all the way down into, biological hormone levels, but we suffer equally from the fog. It's just that, women feel anxiety at greater levels than men do around money. And I think, to your question, one of the big questions, why, is women are not taught about money as much as men are when we're girls. And, I hate to say that, and people go, oh my God, seriously, really, isn't that changing?
It's so true. It's so true.
Well, it is true, right? And I'm in my 50s. And so a lot of the women I talk to are in their, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, right? And that's our story. I'm sorry, but that's our story. Most of us were raised where we weren't taught a lot about money. Now, there's plenty of men in our generation that would say, hey, they didn't get a lot of financial education too. And part of it's just, it's still very common family culture. Money is not talked about. It is handled behind closed doors. And so, it's almost like a societal cultural issue. And how is it then that we grow up? And here's the super, super, super important thing called money. We're magically supposed to know how to handle it. Really? And that, when you say it like that, it doesn't even make sense, Christine, but it's still the truth of what most of us have experienced.
Absolutely. I don't think it's the common family that's sitting around the table talking about how to enhance their stock portfolio and what is the market impact going to be of this election coming up, and That's just not the kind of conversations most families are having with their kids, with each other, right? And to your comment about our generations, I mean, I'm 60, and it's the same thing, right? Men were going to be the breadwinners. I didn't need to know about money because I was going to have some magic person come swooping into my life on a white horse and take me away from all that. And the other thing I was thinking about that I might as well just get out since I'm doing all the talking is the the guilt piece. I feel like some of that is when you're a parent, right? And you like, if you feel like if you get something for yourself, you're taking it out of your taking it away from your children. Do you feel like
Mhm.
that? Sorry, feel free to speak to any of those points. I guess
Yeah,
I'm
no,
chatty today.
I hear you. It's, that goes to a really interesting subject. What I would put under the headline of money personality. There are in my world, there's kind of four core money personalities. I've got this huge retreat coming up for women where I'm like super diving into what is your money personality. But for some people, that what you just said is huge. That the whole point of money is actually all about love, and so it's not about money, it's about what you can do with it, and it's to help people, it's to give to our children, to the world, to society, and we all have that to a degree, but some of us have that as like our primary money motivation. And
Right.
so when that's the case, well, it brings up guilt if you're not able to do that.
Yeah.
Right? If I'm spending it on, myself as opposed to children, or I just feel bad that I don't make enough money to give my children what I feel like I should be able to give them. So yeah, it's brings up a lot, doesn't it?
It does. And I mean, I know that it would be crazy to say, why do you think we're in this mess? But I guess what would be more helpful is to sort of understand how we can move beyond it.
Mhm. How can we move beyond? I study a lot of Jungian psychology, and there's this term called cultural complexes, and there is this cultural complex we have that we're slowly coming out of, but it really, it's very much what we've been saying, that historically women just didn't have a whole lot of options, right? I mean, we grew up and we were supposed to be the center of the home, the center of the family, and it's interesting, Christine, because again, when I say that now, it sounds so old fashioned that the messages have changed so quickly. But what people lose sight of is they've changed literally within our very lifetime. Like that, the message I just said would sound so weird to a young woman listening who was 25. Yes and no. Yes
Right.
and no, because she's getting a lot of mixed messages, but
Yeah.
is the bottom line, right?
Right.
But we're laboring under things that have been in place for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, you could even say thousands of years.
Yeah.
So why do we think it would easily change and suddenly women would be like, oh, I'm the mistress of my financial domain, right? That's a very new concept, but you read sometimes as if that's just the way it is now without any cultural context. And
Yeah.
then people just feel bad that they're somehow behind.
And I don't even know if it's true. I mean, the biggest part of my job is I'm a real estate broker. I help people buy homes and also investment property. And I mean, it's people, I'm thinking specifically of a woman in her 30s, and she just has completely left every financial decision to her husband. And I don't, I mean, she's not that much older than the 25-year-old you're talking about, but
Right, right,
that's
right.
just, and I think it's just cultural. It's just from whatever
Mhm.
her family, that's what her family did. My dad handles the money, and just
Right.
whether or not he happens to be great at it or, have a specific talent, she doesn't want to learn about it. She doesn't want to understand what he's doing in the market or anything. So
Right.
we've
Well, and
not gone.
it would work better potentially. There's so many. Like, boy, you and I know this is such a landmine of a subject. It's such a big one, so I love being able to talk about it. Like, let's get into the controversial subject. But the problem, there's many problems, but one of them is the divorce rate, right? It's like it's a lovely fantasy, and you could say no, it's not a fantasy. It's just division of labor. One person handles the money, the other person handles the blah blah blah, all the other important things around
Right.
family, and there's lots to handle. That's
Right.
not the issue. The
Right.
dilemma is that's fine, and you and I know the divorce rate is 50%. I mean, people can argue about the exact stat 'cause it's a little complicated, but I'm sorry, it's really high. So, regardless, half of us do end up divorcing. And it's why, women have post-divorce don't have the net worth that men do. And,
Right.
and I find like when I was writing the Money Fog book, money fog in our we tend to go vague and into a cloud around money most often when we go through a transition.
Mhm.
Divorce is obviously the big transition I'm thinking of, but a lot of people get foggy about money in any big transition. They move or it's a big career change or retirement
Maybe death
because
of a spouse as well. I mean, that's a huge,
oh my gosh,
huge.
absolutely. Absolutely. So it's kind of like we're all doing the best we can as adults and we're all trying to make our income and our expenses work. And we get to the point where we kind of make it work. But then when transition happens, suddenly the income is disrupted or the expenses are disrupted, or in the case of many of those cases, but again, I'm chewing on divorce, it's all
Right.
disrupted, right? And it tends to throw people back into a cloud around money and the stress goes up, the anxiety goes up. And I think the sad part for me around money fog is it dims our vision. When people are in a money fog, it's like driving in a fog. And we're it's like all our energy is trying to keep the car on the road.
Yeah.
We're not looking further down the road, further down the pike, I think is how you would say it on the East Coast, right? We're not looking that far down the highway
Yeah.
because all our energy is trying to keep from having a money accident. And so we don't have a lot of vision in our
Mhm.
life when we're not clear about our money. And it's partly why I love being a money coach, because when people get clear about their money, their vision comes back.
And what does that mean when you say like their vision comes back? I'm
Mm.
imagining if we continue the car scenario that suddenly you can see further down the road. And what does that mean to someone? What is that? How is that going to really
For
impact them?
some people, yeah, no, I love that question. For some people, it means it's the dream deferred conversation where there were dreams that they just let go of because they can't imagine it when they're under financial stress or they just can't see or they're just too foggy. So they're like, oh, wait, I could consider going back to grad school. I could consider buying that second house. I could consider this huge trip around the world, right? So they suddenly and it's not that they go, "Yeah, I'm gonna go and do it," but they can consider all sorts of things that they had stopped considering.
Yeah.
For other people, as their vision clears because they get clear about money, they simply open up to being curious. It's like, "Oh, what am I curious about? I'm curious about this and this and this." And curiosity leads to, so many fun and interesting things. But again, when we're in a fog, our curiosity tends to be very tamped down in general.
And I want to say that when you're in that space, that it's very, it hampers your self-esteem a lot and you're not feeling great about yourself and you're just like, oh, we can't afford that. And, that's not going to work. And just what if this, that, or the other thing happens? I know it's not a question there. I'm working on it.
No, I'm with you though.
But
Yeah.
is it a chicken and an egg, right? Do you have to get the self-confidence before you get the money, or do you have to get the money before you get the self-confidence, or do they sort of emerge together?
Yeah, I say neither. I say you need the clarity. And then once you get the clarity, that gives you the confidence and the vision. And it's actually a really interesting question. People are overwhelmed. Like, how do I get confident about money? I want to feel empowered. Yeah, the most common thing I hear is I'm tired of not feeling in control of
Mhm.
money. And second, I hear I want to feel empowered around money. And where do I go get that positive feeling, right? But if you're in a fog, it's really hard to feel good about money because you're foggy, right? It's just again, your vision is dim. You don't know what you're spending, what's coming in, what you need, what your net worth is. It's like all of it.
Yeah,
So when people get clear and we start with, well, where's the money going? How much money might you need to live a life that felt a little better? Their confidence grows.
yeah.
and their vision grows. So it's to me, it all comes out of this increasing clarity. In fact, when I started my money coaching practice 25 years ago, I actually called my original company Financial Clarity.
I like that.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I could go back to it. Yeah. Mm.
Because I mean, let's go back to what you were just saying about people understanding where their money's going. I mean, how do you get started with people when they first sit down with you? What are some of the first things that you do with them in order to kind of get them to be able to see some hope?
One of the very first things that I do with clients is we look at, is there any way we can practice elegant financial simplicity? Elegant financial simplicity. The other way I say it is, can we beautify your money? And by that I mean a lot of people have too many accounts. And so it's really hard for them to look at, for example, where are they spending their money, because they've got, 6 credit cards, 3 checking accounts, 4 savings accounts. And part of it came from sometimes a prior relationship. Sometimes it came from, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, so I'm going to try to bucket my money, this credit card for trips and this credit card for this and this credit card for this. And it kind of works until it doesn't. In the end, they end up transferring, and it transferring money all over the place between accounts to kind of deal with the whole thing. The other thing is we're all busy, and that's a lot of places you have to go to look at your money.
Mm.
It's like, oh my gosh, that is a big kind of messy dashboard. And I work with so many professional women, they don't want to look at 8 different accounts on 8 different websites with, oh, let's go to Capital One and let's go to Bank of America and let's go to Wells Fargo and let's go to let's go to Alaska credit card. It's not a good use of time. It's not a good use, right? So it's like, how do you simplify your money? Because the more elegant your account structure and the simpler your account structure, the more that's correlated to financial peace and lower levels of anxiety. People that report being happy with their relationship to money, they don't have 6 credit cards. They have 1 or 2 max.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm laughing because I have so many accounts because I have different businesses and they all have their own checkbooks and I manage the condo association's money and all
Right.
this other stuff. I'm just
Well,
like,
right. So it's a version of that because they're different businesses. But yeah, you get it. You totally can feel it,
yeah,
right? You pull the
yeah,
wrong card out. Yeah.
right. Well, and I do that because I pay bills automatically, and then I'm like, why is this coming out of my account? Shit, I forgot to
Yeah.
change the name at the top. Like, oh my gosh.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And that's
exactly.
even with the right intention of having your businesses separate. And you try, you know what you're doing, right? But it's so easy to it
Yeah,
just flips in a second, right? The wrong account, the wrong this.
yeah, exactly. Like, why am I paying for snow removal? The condo association's
Yeah.
supposed to be paying for
The
snow removal.
condo association.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's I can definitely relate to those folks. Absolutely.
Hmm.
So let's talk some more about your personal journey. And I mean,
Hmm.
obviously you're the money coach, so it's interesting and wonderful to assume that you always just had everything exactly the way you wanted it, but you went
Oh
through
yeah,
your own
right.
transition.
Oh, yes. Oh yes. But what do they say? Those that most need to learn, teach, right? Um, yeah. So for me, I was in grad school and I found myself with so my undergrad was economics, but my master's was in transpersonal psychology. So I had these 2 sort of parts of my brain that I, was fascinated with. But
Yeah,
in the real world, I had credit card debt and student loan debt, and I was working at a nonprofit, and I didn't make enough money, and I didn't know any better to negotiate or ask for a raise, and I had no idea where my money was going, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah.
Um, and I was frustrated because I thought, I'm pretty sure I'm a smart person. Pretty sure I
Seems that
I
way.
mean, I seem to be a smart person, I seem to be what they call an educated professional. Um, and yet why am I so stressed out around money? And in part of it's almost like the secret shame, right? If they only knew I was carrying credit card debt, if they only knew. I don't know who the theys are,
Right.
maybe it's our internal
Those
parents or something.
right, exactly,
Yeah.
those things that sit on our shoulder and judge us.
Exactly, the gremlin on my shoulder is like, "Oh my gosh, I thought you studied economics, you're, 2 plus 2," So, I on top of everything else, you're embarrassed and you don't wanna talk about it, right? So, I met a money coach in my mid, late 20s, named Karen McCall, who was talking about a lot of stuff around money that I'd never heard talked about, the psychology of money, deprivation, issues around money, needs and wants, your family of origin, teaching or not teaching you about money. I mean, just like, oh my gosh. And so I hired her to be my money coach and to like get out of, I don't think I called it the money fog at the time, but definitely to get clear about my money. And it rocked my world. I know it sounds a bit much to say it changed my life, but it did, right? I
Oh,
mean, I got
absolutely.
so clear and to the point where I was like, "Oh my gosh, I wanna do what you do." So, I was the very first person that Karen McCall trained to become a money coach, and it was 25 years ago. I'm kinda like the original money coach because there's different money coaches nowadays that it's a newer field.
Mhm.
But I mean, I've been doing this 25 years and it wasn't even called money coaching when I started because the field barely existed,
Yeah.
What I love is the process that obviously I worked with and taught clients, I used myself. And so I used it to navigate all the twists and turns in my life because I mean, certainly I am a money coach. I think I'm a really good money coach, and it doesn't mean I was immune from life, right? I mean, I went through a huge divorce and really truly lost just about everything in my late 30s and completely started over and went through all the stuff that I know is very common, but it's hard, it's personal, right? It's like
Yeah.
I'm a single mom, I'm trying to figure out how to buy my own house. And as you and I talked about a little bit, as I was pulling out of my own divorce transition, realizing, oh my gosh, on top of everything else, I'm now completely like, how am I ever gonna retire? Here I am in my 40s looking at where I was, and it was not pretty. We survived the divorce, and single parenting is that's a whole other podcast, but anyways, we're all doing our best. So, I ended up buying rental property and, really going into diversifying my own wealth between investments and real estate. But if I hadn't been able to use my own stay clear about money, learn how to create that monthly spending plan and that annual spending plan that guided my life through the transitions, I honestly don't think I would be where I am today, Christine. I really don't. It would have been a lot harder, a lot more stressful. Um, and life is life. It's still not always easy. We being clear about money doesn't keep your parents from dying, right? It doesn't keep you from big things still happen in your life, right? But if you've got a process that you can hold on to that helps you stay clear about money, it becomes this guiding light so that you can handle whatever comes and at least you're not stressed about money. There's enough other stuff for us to get our arms around.
Yeah, it's so true. And, it's interesting, a lot of people who help people with their finances don't like real estate investing, right? They
Mhm.
wanna put you in a fund, they wanna put
I
you in a
know.
whatever, an ETF,
Yeah.
and, "Oh, real
Yeah.
estate, it's so difficult," or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you suffer from any of that? I mean, did you question yourself when you thought, "Hey, I'm gonna jump into rental property?"
Boy, this is such an interesting topic. You're right. I have struggled over the years finding financial planners. So I'm not a financial planner. I don't do
Right.
investments. I refer to financial planners.
Yeah.
And I really struggle finding financial planners that can handle clients that have real estate and want to do real estate investing because they want everything in the market. And it's for a variety of reasons. And there are some good financial planners, right? They'll like run the numbers or they'll do, all the stuff that I know And for me personally, a couple things. Real estate investing to me is about ultimate diversification. It's not that I'm not in the market. I am in the market. Do I have my Roth and my IRA? Of course I do. But I don't put all my eggs in one basket. And every planner worth their salt says don't put all your eggs in one basket, except they seem to not like the real estate basket, right? It's
They
really
just want you
interesting
to
to
be
me, right?
diversified in different sectors in the market.
In
Like,
different
that's
sectors.
not
I'm like, well,
actual
actually,
diversity.
there's actually exactly there's that diversity, right? So I love having money in real estate and I love having money in the market. And no matter what happens in the world, I mean, there's this emotional piece too. We don't know what's going to happen with the market. And I am a strong believer in the market and I do invest in the market. But if everything goes very, very difficult and the United States goes through a difficult recession or depression, and I'm not saying it's going to, but life is long and we are going to live through many economic cycles.
Right.
People are always going to need a place to live. And so I personally sleep better knowing that part of my wealth is in housing. Part of my wealth is in providing lovely places for people to live. I've got 3 different places that I rent out via, kind of short-term and long-term different leases. Um, and it brings me a lot of peace to be diversified in that way. And
Yeah.
and also I feel good because I go to these properties and I walk on the ground and I own them. I own them. And it's almost kinesthetic, right? It's a very, very hands-on thing. And so you can argue with planners and, different things make sense in different markets. Um, but personally, because I work with so many women post-divorce, owning real estate is a game changer for women post-divorce. It's partly why women really look at trying to keep the house in a divorce because having rental income as one of your income streams when you retire is huge. So you don't have to retire on only Social Security and investments because I love those other streams. Absolutely, I do. And and I wish more people would consider rental income.
Yeah, beautiful. The other thing when you were talking about doing short-term rentals, I love short-term rentals, not for, for many reasons, but also because
Mhm.
I love decorating them. I just love, buying a place and being like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, this is, how am
Yeah.
I going to make this a really fun, exciting, special experience when people are here for their vacations, right? That
Mhm.
it's a creative outlet for me as much as anything else.
It is. I've got a couple clients that Airbnb and actually I have many clients at Airbnb and they love that aspect of it, right? What I have, and this is what's so fun because there's a lot of interesting ways you can do real estate. There is no single
Absolutely.
one way, and there's more than
Absolutely.
people realize. For me, I love the midterm market, and so I love that 1 to 3 month period. So
Mhm.
I'm still furnishing and decorating, but I have, like in my studio, I have nurses, traveling nurses,
Traveling
and
nurses. Yep.
they're there 3 to 6 months. Oh my gosh, the nicest people that want a lovely place where they can sleep at very
Yeah,
strange,
and that's all they do, right?
very
Is basically
strange
sleep.
hours.
Yeah.
But then I built a backyard cottage, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house, and that's on a 12-month lease to this lovely young couple that they've been there 2, 3 years, and I'm sure they're gonna try to buy a house. So, I like the mix. It just works for me to have different terms and different situations. It works well. I consider it a form of diversification within real estate.
Absolutely. And I'm right now I've
Mm.
just started I won't say dabbling because I guess that you can call it dabbling in commercial real estate, which I never did anything with before. So I'm playing around with that and helping clients to get involved in commercial because it seems like a great time to buy commercial real estate. So even within, right, you're talking about diversification within residential real estate, and then you
Within
can get
resident
into
Yeah.
other types of, you know,
It's true. Well,
so
and
much.
I'm in the Seattle market, and I know it's interesting having to keep on top of things that change zoning and, because we're all obviously in different areas of the country. Where I live in the Pacific Northwest, there is a shortage in general of housing in the major cities. Seattle is a huge tech hub.
Yeah.
Um, and we have a lot of incoming people. And so, Seattle's struggling trying to figure out, and I mean, this is as real as it gets. Like, how do we house everyone when you have more people moving into a city?
Yeah.
then there are places for them to live. And so I mean, it's a really interesting, I like being involved in it. And I think the other thing is, again, I'm not maligning investing. I am in the market, but I understand real estate at a deep level because I live in a home. And that sounds silly to
Right.
say that, right? But
Right.
like
Right.
you want to invest in something that you know, that you understand. And I do try to understand my investments, but I'm not going to pretend that I understand the mutual funds and all the sectors and stuff as well as I understand the property that I walk through and decorate and rent.
Exactly.
So it just really, really, it just works. It works for my personality, and it also worked for my future. Because a lot of this was designed so that I would never have to worry about money and retirement and cash flow and things like that.
Yeah. And that's one thing, even when you're talking about IRAs and stuff like that. I mean, I don't want to take a huge detour and take away from your core business, but we'll just do a little more real estate chatting. But
Yeah.
when you are when you're talking about like an IRA, at a certain point, you're going to have to take some of your principal, and you're never going to have to do that for your house, right? It's going to keep feeding you, and you're never going to erode that actual value. You're not going to sell off one side of the house, one bedroom, and then, like figure out that, oh gosh, what if I live too long? Then, the whole house is going to be gone. That isn't a problem when you're talking about real estate and using that passive income stream. So I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. And a lot of it does come into personality because there are some people listening who go, "Oh my gosh, I never want the stress of being a landlord," right?
Yeah.
That's the downside. It's not all upside of when people call and like if I have one more conversation about sugar ants with an exterminator, I'm gonna go crazy, because they just chap my hide, drive me insane. So there's obviously things you have to deal with in terms of being a landlord, but my mom was really my guiding light around this. My mom suffered huge financial setbacks in the 0809 crisis, and just like many of your listeners, almost couldn't retire because she lost so much in 0809. And luckily, my mom has this lovely, big, beautiful family house, the house I grew up in. My mom is an extrovert. I'm more of an introvert, so we do real estate differently, and for her, it worked to rent out rooms. And she has created this lovely community of just wonderful people. And by renting out rooms to people that she really likes and doing it her way, which you got to know my mom. It's she does it the way she wants to do it, right? She was able to retire on time exactly when she wanted to because of picking up rental income from renting out a couple of rooms in her big, beautiful house. And
That
to
she already
her,
owned, right?
she
No
already
startup
owned it.
cost. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly, and to her, it also added to her life because she liked a little bit of that community element,
Yeah.
right? So, I mean, part of it is your personality in terms of, do you wanna live with people? Do you wanna do what I do? I built, my primary house, a studio on the front of my house with an outside entrance, so I'm not co-living
Right.
so, I mean, there's a lot of different ways that you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Fun. Yeah, I actually have a course called Turn Your Empty Nest into a Nest Egg, and that's what we talk about is you've got this beautiful home. Now your kids are off, at college and you've got extra bedrooms. And sometimes your husband is no longer, your significant other is no longer in the picture. And now you're like, oh man, I'm kind of lonely. The halls are a little echoey and you can bring people in if that's your personality. And it can be really a lot of fun.
Oh, what's the name of the course? Turn your empty
Turn your
nest into a
empty
nest
nest
egg?
into your nest egg.
Oh my god, that's brilliant. There's so many ways to do it.
There
People
are.
always think about the one way, like, "Oh, I can never do that," but there's a lot of really different ways to do it that I find can work for different people.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so enough of that detour. Let's talk some more about your book, about how your what's your favorite part of what you do?
Ooh, my favorite part of money coaching. What is my favorite part? It probably goes back to vision, there's a difference between financial stress and financial anxiety. Financial stress is usually a situation happens and income is less than expenses. And that's obviously a huge stressor when things like that happen. But I find, Christine, that people don't call a money coach until they're identifying a little bit more long-standing financial anxiety, that they always are not feeling completely in control. They, like I said earlier, they want to feel empowered. They're tired of things sort of being the way they are. They feel like they want to step into the new chapter of their life,
Yeah.
and they feel stuck, in different ways they feel stuck. And so probably the most common time that people call me is when they are in some type of transition. And sometimes it's, I just want things to be different. I want to step into something else. But a lot of times it's, it's post-divorce, or I also see people that are caught in the golden handcuffs. They have a great job. Maybe it's in the tech sector. Again, I'm in the Northwest, but I've got clients all over the United States, and they make great money, but they don't love their job anymore. And they're like, do I have to keep making this amount of money? And they're afraid to take a job they may like more that would pay potentially less. And so that would be, another great use of money coaching. So a couple years ago, I had someone say, this sounds like a weird question, but he said to me, "What's your superpower?" And I said, "What's my superpower?" And I said, "Well, my superpower is helping people get out of the money fog." And he said, "That's your book." And that's why this last book was called Rise Above the Money Fog, because it's everything, right? And what I find with the money fog is we don't always understand what it's causing. We may identify with, yeah, I guess I am in a money fog, but we don't know that it's causing us to overspend, or some of us underspend. We don't spend enough because we're so afraid of, do we have enough money?
Yeah.
But being in a money fog can cause some people to overwork, compulsively work, workaholic, because
Yeah.
they don't know how much money they need. Some people, it causes them to under earn. They don't know how much they need. They're not earning enough. So there's so many pieces that come out of it. And I love helping people get clear about that, getting out of the money fog, and then where do you want to go with your life?
Yeah.
And it's just probably my favoriteest part of all, favoritist. I don't know if that's a word. My most favorite part is working with people at the level of an annual plan, an annual income and spending plan, because that's really vision.
Yeah.
What do you want to do with your life this year, next year? I think that's super, super exciting. So, and the money personality stuff that we referenced a little bit earlier, I am super jazzed about that. Like I mentioned, I've got this retreat next year that is, I think partly it's just post-pandemic. People are wanting to,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
just wanting to get back together,
Yeah.
because most of my work is one-on-one. I do a lot of deep coaching one-on-one. That's the majority of it. But I am excited. I have to say, I'm really excited to bring people back together in a retreat setting and just go deep into the psychology of your money personality, and tapping into your money personality to live into your life purpose. That's probably the thing I'm most excited about right now. It's called Money, Soul, and Purpose.
Oh, that's beautiful. It's like we were
Yeah.
talking about before we started the recording, especially, I don't know how it is for men, but for women, for myself, just having lots of money is not motivating. I'm not going to just work hard so I can get some certain number of commas in my bank account, right? I have to have something that I'm looking forward to, something that this money is going to mean something to me in the form of freedom, in the form of exciting trips. And, if this is something that's happening with this money, that's just a tool for me to do something exciting. And that's, I think, what you're talking about when you're helping people with their vision. They're like, and now we can talk a little bit about tango if you'd like.
That's yeah. Well, oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, we have and what I think is cool is we get to have more than one vision. I mean, there's
Right.
the big vision of being able to retire, which can almost sometimes feel too big. Like, how do we latch on to that? But I'm a big proponent of, you got to enjoy your money. We can't, it's not all about living for the future. And it's not all of it is about debt repayment and paying off the past. It's like, we live in the present. So how do we design a plan where you can enjoy your current life more? And for me personally, I'm a crazy person for Argentine tango. So in fact, I met my husband dancing. Like I was a tango dancer, again, not my day job, uh, but, loved,
It's a
tango,
beautiful
and I
dance.
met my husband at a house party, a tango a tango house party, isn't that funny? It's bizarrely old-fashioned, um, but to meet your husband at a house party, period, right, let alone a dance party, but it's a huge passion and it costs money. We take private dance lessons and classes and we travel for tango and we go to
Have to.
festivals and
Yeah.
we're competing nationally next year and so that's a huge push around coaching
Costumes
and
and travel and
practicing.
right, yeah, and practice and lessons,
Totally.
so much, yeah.
I need more shoes. Yeah.
Obviously.
Obviously, you need a lot of tango shoes to compete. So it's a really beautiful way of enjoying life because, of course, I had a big priority around, helping my son get through college. And, of course, I want to make sure my retirement is secure and things like that. But there's more than that. Where's Mikelann? Where's my happiness? It's
Right,
not all about that other stuff. And so it's just I love having the time and space to enjoy my life.
yeah, and that's it, right? That's what to me, that's if I had to substitute a word for money, it would be freedom and flexibility. I guess that's 2 words, but that's what it's all about for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess because I don't care about
Yeah.
security.
Well, you want the security to make sure that you're always gonna be free,
Yeah,
right? I mean, part of
exactly.
security is knowing that you wanna protect your freedom in the future.
Absolutely. So now we have to help people. How
Mhm.
can they get in touch with you? What's the best way for people to reach you? What's the best way for them to get your book? And I know we're going to put all
All
this
that
in the
good
show
stuff.
notes, but just give us like a highlight, a really quick, in case
Yeah,
people
yeah,
can't wait for the show notes.
right. No, I thank you for that. So the easiest way is to go to the website Seattle Money Coach, Seattle Money Coach. I've got clients all over the United States, but the website is Seattle Money Coach, and they can click on the book Rise Above the Money Fog. They can also just get it off of Amazon. Just Rise Above the Money Fog. Just go buy it on Amazon.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's right there. But if you go to Rise Above, pardon me, if you go to Seattle Money Coach, what I would encourage people to do is just book a free discovery call. If they're curious about money coaching, just hop on the phone with me for 20 minutes and let's talk through kind of the ins and outs of it. If people are curious about the upcoming retreat, that's not until March of 2025, but it's coming. March of 2025 is coming, right? And so people are curious about an in-person retreat in the company of other women. Again, hop on the call with me and let's just kind of talk through if that would make sense for you as well. So, Seattle Money Coach, I put on the website, Christine, a free download of basically how do you know if you're in a money fog, a quiz, which is
Great.
pretty sweet. So they can grab the freebie if they don't want to talk with me, just go ahead and grab the freebie and dive into it from there.
So I have 2 last questions for you. The first is, what would you say to people who say, I don't have the money to hire a money coach?
Mm. So I have a huge referral network. I can find a money coach who they can't afford, right? I mean, there's lots of brand new money coaches that don't charge a lot of money. So I know I can find a money coach for anyone if they want to work with a money coach.
Yeah.
Not everybody wants it. Some people are true do-it-yourselfers. They want to know the list of books to read. They want to know, tell me about this program or that program. So part of it is know thyself. Do you
Mhm.
work better with a coach or are you someone who's highly self-motivated and you just need some direction? So that kind of depends on that. My personal demographic tends to be who I personally work with are women in midlife,
Mhm.
but there's lots of different coaches out there that work with, new families, young people coming out of college. It's a great time to be able to get help.
Excellent. And my final question is, what is one question that you wish I would have asked you that I didn't ask you? What is something you want to make people to take away or something that you want to make sure people understand?
Um, I would say I guess my parting thought would be this. I want people to feel good about where they are on their money journey and to see all of this as a journey because people tend to heap a lot of shame and blame on themselves, women a little bit more so than men. And we have to believe that we're in the right place on the path, and it's simply a journey. And where you're going to be in 5 years is not where you are today. And having that type of journey mentality, I think, is hugely helpful. We're all in a different place on our money journey, and we just want to move to the next step about stepping into a deeper relationship and befriending money a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more because it's absolutely possible.
That's great. That's great because it's true. No, I forget. I just heard something the other day, like a study, like they asked people at all these different income levels, how much like how much would you need to make in order for you to feel comfortable about money? And it was always like, $50,000 more than whatever they were making, whether that was $500,000 or whether that was,
Right.
50,000 or whatever. So there's,
Yeah, the new term that you're hearing more and more is called financial well-being, because
Mhm.
really the whole point of money is well-being, and well-being and happiness is about well-being and happiness. The money should support our happiness.
Exactly. Exactly. Excellent. Mikelann, thank you so much for being with us today. I love talking with you. You're just fantastic. And
Love it.
thank you, listener, for listening. And I bet you know somebody that is not that great with money who would really benefit from 20 minutes with Mikelann. So why don't you forward this episode to them? Maybe you can even think of 5 people in that situation. Forward this episode to them. They are going to be so grateful to you, and have a wonderful week.